Sarge and Friends, the story so far. In a small town called Americatown, USA, there lived two boyos, Sergeant Adam James Bastard III and Pedro Rodriguez, the two of which were roommates, who live in absolute harmony. Pedro, get your ass back here! I'm gonna hit you with the cane, boy! Get over here!
No! That would be a terrible thing!
They went on many adventures.
We're going on many adventures!
And they were down on their luck with money, so they had multiple jobs around the town.
We have multiple jobs around the town!
Your Pedro voice sounds really fucking weird in this episode.
I can't do it right. Wait. We have many jobs around the town!
Yeah, that's better. First, they worked at a gas station.
We work at a gas station!
I'm not even supposed to be here today. Then, they sold crack.
We're selling crack!
How very observant of you, boy. Then, they had their own TV series. I'm Sergeant Bastard, and this is Conspiracy Query.
We have a TV series!
But that's just a theory.
Okay, theory.
Thanks for watching. Then they sold crack again. We're selling crack again.
Why would you say something so obvious?
I don't know, boy, it was in the script. But not all was well in Sergeant Friend's town. First, they got new neighbors. My name is Tubba, the evil heart, ruler of the Heart Gang.
Hey, this is Thrills.
Then Pedro found out he was an ancient abomination known as the Pedro Fiend.
I am an ancient abomination known as the Pedro Fiend.
Then Sergeant Bastard defeated the Pedro Fiend with the help of Homo No Fuck You. Hey, I defeated the Pedro Fiend single-handedly. I don't know what you're talking about. Who is this Homo No Fuck You? That sounds like a foreigner. Along the way, they met time travelers, such as Injun Jack and Bippy Laqueef. Heap 'em long time ago. My name was Injun Jack, and it still is, and I have the spirit of the buffalo, and my ancestors.
I'm Bippy Laqueef.
Then a whole bunch of other crazy shit happened, and Crazy Pete, the town monster and urban legend, fell into a volcano at the hands of being pushed by Pedro. I'm being pushed by Pedro, and now I am dying. And now, join us on another exciting adventure in the Sarge and Friends universe as we tell 3 distinct tales from Camp Convenience. Rated R.
Rob Schneider.
Hello everyone, my name is Silver, and today I'll be reviewing Friday the 13th as I massacre this group of teenagers that decided to stay at Camp Convenience where Crazy Pete used to stay. This was his old stomping ground and is now mine. So,
Please, I have a family.
to start off with, Friday the 13th is an awful movie series rated back in 1962, and it stars Will Smith as Michael Myers, a serial killer who was killed in a boiler room by being burned to death, and now simply haunts the camp and people's dreams.
Please, not my sister Susie, I love her.
And along the way, they decide to resurrect this monster multiple times, which I'm sure isn't an excellent foreshadowing for part 3 of this anthology series. It's not a very good show. It's a stupid, poor movie. I don't like it. It's too violent, and for a children's movie, I just don't think that's appropriate.
Oh my god, my guts are in my head. Oh god. Ah!
And I just think that over-the-top gore and that kind of stuff is just it's just distasteful, and I can't stand it. That's why I don't really like it. I did order a copy of it from Amazon. If it does arrive, I will, of course, be changing my review from 1 star to 5. Because, of course, that will make it better, because it arrived on time, and everyone knows that's all it takes to have Silver and me give it a good review. But, other than that, I mean, just living here in Camp Convenience, this is not my turf. Anyone who wants to come by, please do. I'm happy to tell you my reviews while I cut your guts out and slaughter you.
My teeth are missing.
But, overall, this has been Silver Reviews, and this is where I'm hiding out now while the authorities from the future are trying to hunt me down.
Now on to our second scary tale of suspense and spookiness. This is the horrid tale of the Sarge and Friends lost episode. Rated R.
I didn't believe in the paranormal until very recently. You see, I'm the president of the Sarge and Friends fan club. I've watched it ever since I was a little kid. Watched it every Saturday after school. I used to collect all the Sarge and Friends videos, all the movies, all the toys, all the things. I even have the porn parodies. I thought I've seen every single episode of Sarge and Friends until very recently. It really sent a chill down my spine of what I saw. I was looking at garage sales, and I found this abandoned house in this abandoned suburbs, and this guy was just selling his stuff at a garage sale. And he was looking down on his feet all the time, not looking back up once until I talked to him. I was looking through his stuff, and I found this VHS tape labeled Sergeant Friends, number 69. And I thought, a Sergeant Friends 69? I've never seen such a thing. I walked up to him, and I asked him, how much for this? He started to look up at me very slowly, and then he said, take it. So I took it home. I popped it into my VCR. The first thing I see is a blue screen, and then it just goes to the episode. And it started out very normal, but there was something extremely different about it. The opening had a very, very warped version of the theme song. A very distorted, disturbing version, I might add. Then I noticed it started out, with the Sarge and Friends characters, but then they started to look very realistic with their eyes, and they all had very red eyes, and then all of a sudden, the white background turned very dark red, and I noticed something was extremely wrong. Sarge cuts his foot with a knife and starts bleeding, and then Pedro gets a butcher's knife and cuts his own hand while he's laughing maniacally, and then he starts slicing his own throat, and then he bleeds to death, and then Sarge all of a sudden starts to fuck the wound while he's laughing, and then as he does it, as he's finished, he looks at the camera and says, "Everything you see is a reality, always question society," and gets a gun and blows his face off, and then it cuts to static. I was scared shitless, and I could not believe what I saw. I always had nightmares after watching this fucking cursed tape, and it scares the fuck out of me. I'll keep everyone posted on the blog for the next couple of days.
Bastard's Log number 478. This is the Sergeant Bastard from the alternate timeline where I escaped from my TV show and joined the real world. And in this real world, I've met the president of the Sergeant Friends fan club. He was a very nice guy, but one day something seemed kind of off. He'd mentioned that he'd acquired a tape of a lost episode of the show. He told me he'd keep me up to date once he'd watched it. I found this blog here where he'd been keeping people updated on what happened. But ever since his last post, he's gone missing, and the police are still searching for him. Before he went missing, he mailed me the tape, and so now I have it here. I tried watching the tape, and originally all that came up was static, but when I watched it at 3 a.m., while calling the boss baby, he answered OMG. I was watching it, and finally something appeared on the screen. I could see the president of the fan club, Anthony Manchieri. I could see him, and he stared at me, and he said, "Help me. God has abandoned us. The world is over." And then he started screaming with hyper-realistic screams. And then gore popped up on the screen of children being murdered, and there was hyper-realistic gore and blood everywhere. And then I could hear a hyper-realistic voice tell me, "You are going to die." At this point, I removed the tape and tried to shoot it with my Glock like any good American would. But the bullet bounced right off of it and did no damage, so I had no choice but to bury the tape. So I took the tape out to the abandoned graveyard, in the abandoned city, in the abandoned part of the west side of the abandoned state. And I buried it in the abandoned ground, and ran back to my unabandoned car to go back to my not-abandoned house. But 3 days later, I went to check on the tape, and it was gone. Much like the body of Christ was gone after 3 days. And it was no longer there, so now the tape is still out there. So I beg you, I plead, if you come across this tape for Sergeant Friends episode 69, written in Sharpie, do not watch it. You will die. And now on to a third ghoulish and ghastly tale of grim horrors and ghosts. Today we'll be telling the tale of the monster of Camp Convenience in Crazy Pete, Resurrection. Rated R. My child, we must go and resurrect Crazy Pete.
I have a resurrection!
Indeed, we must rise Crazy Pete and get him to take over Camp Convenience once again.
You know what's rising right now?
That's enough of that, child.
That's what my girlfriend said!
Yes, but you didn't take no for an answer, did you, my child?
I showed her what's what.
That's good. You put that bitch in her place, my child. But quickly now, we must resurrect Crazy Pete.
I don't know, Davey.
Well, my child, it must happen. Crazy Pete is a force of nature. What a lot of people don't understand is that the laws of physics won't work without him. In fact, the entire Law and Order Special Victims Unit will fall apart.
Ba ba da ba ba ba.
Exactly. Exactly, my child. Now, we must go and resurrect him. Quickly, here is the ancient relic of resurrection. We'll use it to resurrect Crazy Pete. Now quickly, rub this pizza on your face! Now while you rub that pizza on your face, I will give the ancient chant of ancients. Arewa dareda, 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 arewa debiru, debiru man, debiru man. Uragiri monano na wo ukite, subate wasutite ta 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 otoko, debio wachap. Dibby wa Juni, Dibby wing was all out to be, Dibby beam, and let's go see.
Ah!
Kumano chikura miri suketa Seiki no hero Devilman.
Devilman!
Look, my child, Crazy Pete's hand. It's rising from the grave, just like in a classic iconic zombie movie. Before the zombies were these faggy virus creatures and used to be supernatural forces.
I haven't ever seen a zombie movie, but this reminds me of that scene in Ninja Turtles where Shredder's hand comes out of the pile of rubble.
Isn't that from Ninja Turtles 2, my child?
Oh.
Well then. Look, boy, Crazy Pete is rising. Rising. Overflowing.
Oh my god!
Maybe dial it back a little bit, Crazy Pete. That's a little bit too much rising, yeah? He's back, my child! And he's better than ever. And what are you doing making those noises? You don't have to repeat what Crazy Pete does. That's the job of his brother, Crazy Repeat. Boo-loo-loo-loo-loo. I'm Crazy Repeat. Crazy Pete, you must defeat Silver the Destroyer, who has taken over your turf. Because without you, he will rise and darkness will prevail. Excellent, my child. Meanwhile, back at Camp Convenience.
Anyway, so that's my review of Nightmare on Elm Street. The series is not very good. I had a lot of plot holes. I had a lot more gore in it than I would have liked. It was much too gory.
Oh my god, I'm dying! My legs! Oh god, I can't feel my legs! Oh god! Oh god, they're all dead!
Stab, slice,
Oh my god! My guts are in my hands!
But yeah, I just personally don't like that senseless violence and... What the hell is that? Is that Crazy Pete? I'm terrified of Crazy Pete. Crazy Pete is more scary than the authorities that are chasing me down from the future because of my art, which they don't appreciate. So I brought my art here to Camp Convenience. But now with Crazy Pete back, I need to run. So I'm Silver Reviews, and I'm gonna get the fuck out of here.
Well, my child, I think it was cool to see Crazy Pete again, and he had his iconic axe, which he's totally had the whole time and wasn't stolen from a picture that Chutters drew, and it was totally there originally and not just stealing Chutters' idea.
I don't know who Chutters is!
Well, you'll see next time when Chutters becomes the new monster of Camp Convenience on Sarge and Friends, rated PG-13, starring Rob Schneider.
Ah!